Sundays are for summaries, and we are gonna where we summarize one book of the Bible, and the book we are summarizing today is Mark, the Gospel of Mark. That our key text, Mark chapter 10, verse 45. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. That the setting of Mark, first, that the place we get from Clemente of Alexandria, the early church father, that he cites in some of his works that Mark wrote to Rome and Syria. The date is around 65 AD, after the deaths of Peter and Paul. We get that from the early church father Papias. That the author is John Mark. Now, I want to talk a little bit because historically, Mark is viewed as a second generation Christian. And then that he writes this on behalf of Peter. Now it'd be hard to do as if Peter is already dead. Now that it could be that he wrote this before Peter died, which is true. It could be that he had referred to the Q document in which I've talked about. Or, and this is what we're going to learn in the historical present. So the historical present is a Greek construction, and one of its functions is when a writer is remembering a past event as though it's happening now. So if that's the case, and Mark uses it more than any other, there's a good chance that Mark was present, but he wasn't very committed. He was more on the outside. Now, that would go in line with very early accounts of Mark, especially with the disagreement with Paul, Barnabas, and Mark. But we do learn later on that Mark becomes very, very committed. In the latter 2 Timothy chapter 4, Paul says, don't forget to bring Mark because he's useful for my ministry. So these are all things that revolve around John Mark, who is the author. And this is the first gospel written. A variety of themes. This theme of the urgency of the gospel. The word immediately occurs 36 times, twice as much as any other in the other gospel. The excessive use of kai. Now, kai in English is Greek. Mark really comes off the pages as the best way to explain it is almost like a kid when they're telling you about their day. And they use and to connect everything. Well, then I went to PE and I had lunch and I had English and I had math. And kai in English, and in English functions very similar to kai in Greek. Kai in Greek connects two things of equal status. Now, when we use and, or kai, that we are portraying that everything is of equal value. And that's very much how Mark is portrayed. Next, you have this idea called parataxis. Parataxis is the joining of two clauses together. And in Mark, it most oftenly happens with Kai. There are 5 occurrences where Kai is joined with Anne. And in every other gospel, it only occurs once. And as I mentioned, you have this thing, you have the historical present. Now, the historical present portrays a past event as though it's happening now, almost as it is unfolding. And it has this, and that just brings out the urgency of the gospel that much more. Next, you have power and suffering, leading by serving. That's very clear from our key text. For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. You also have something called the Messianic secret. That's something unique in Mark. And Mark was written to Rome and to Syria, and the idea was that Jesus couldn't be the Messiah because he didn't overtly say it. And Mark really addresses that. Next, that the message, Jesus is the suffering Son of Man. Jesus is the fulfillment of Isaiah chapter 66 of the suffering servant. Christ and Mark, Jesus comes as a long-awaited Messiah and Redeemer of Israel in powerful and dramatic fashion. He doesn't come as the Jews thought he would as a king, but he comes as a servant, serving the needs of everyone. We all are to imitate his pattern of sacrifice and submission to God by being a servant to all. That was the book of Mark. Have a great day.